Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's book review is on Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to set up a story as to why I picked up this book and then go into the review, because I think it's really important to talk about why I picked up this book in the first place. And basically it's about the censorship and harassment and bullying that is in the bookish community, specifically on Goodreads and Twitter. So the arc came out a few months ago and I saw positive reviews from a few people, and I was actually going to pick it up. I was on like the borderline because these young adult books aren't that great. Sorry, I read them all, but they're not like my cup of tea. The writing is too basic for me and I hate flashbacks. So I was like, well, maybe she does better in an adult book. And I was going to pick it up, but not like immediately. I was gonna wait like maybe 6 months to a year, or when I got to other books that I already have, basically. And then I was seeing straight up bullying and harassment on Twitter from these arcs. Now, arcs aren't the 100% real deal thing like you see right here. However, it's very close. And what I saw was very hypocritical in the booktube community and the book review blogger community, where you all are reading Stephen King and other horror genre writers and you don't have really any problem with how they write. However, when Leigh Bardugo, who is a sexual assault survivor, writes about sexual assault, you all have a problem with that. You all call her disgusting. How can you do that? You have young adult followers that might or might not even read this book, because she has said multiple times that it's an adult, mature book. Do not read it if you're a teenager or young adult. Okay? She's already said, as well as her publisher, that this is an adult book. So I don't understand why why people were saying that she is misrepresenting her book. I don't get that. She was not. I've seen multiple times that she was not. Now, for the like Barnes and Nobles that put this book on the young adult shelf, that has nothing to do with her. It's the Barnes Noble peeps that are messing up, because it's not a young adult book. I'm going to tell you right now, you need to be mature enough to read this book, and you need to have coping mechanisms for a lot of these scenes in this book to get through it. That's way up front. She's already said that. And people were calling her vile and disgusting, and I love that. The point of, quote, "Do not read this book or else." Or else what? Or else what? I would love to know what you, a person that doesn't even have their first name, let alone their any sort of identifiable characteristics on your Twitter or your Goodreads, telling me what you're gonna do to me if I get this book. I'm gonna let you know, what are you gonna do to me? Because this book is right here and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. What are you gonna do? Or else? What is the or else that you're talking about? See, when you make those threats, and I say that is a threat, it's not a very direct threat, but when you're saying don't read this book or else, that is, to me, a societal censorship. You're scaring people into not reading a book. You're scaring people that you don't know or that you do know. That's a problem to me. It's a huge problem. And when I saw that, and when I saw people tagging her and saying that she's disgusting for writing the stuff in this book, she has to come out and say, you know what, I'm a sexual assault survivor and this book is healing to me. Another point why I bought this book, That's disgusting. You are disgusting. She is not disgusting. When you try to censor writers who are going through stuff, that have written books or have painted pictures or, you know, even sewed, I don't care what it is, you don't have a right to say that you're disgusting and that you're a horrible person for creating that art when it's from someone's inner turmoil and they're trying to get over that through their art. That's the point of art. It's supposed to be good and bad at the same time. That's creativity in a nutshell. Art is healing, and it's also healing for people that are reading this book that do have coping mechanisms, or even that they don't have coping mechanisms to read the stuff in this book, but they choose to do so because they know that this book is a healing process that the writer has done, and maybe it'll help them too. You don't have the right to say you should or should not read this book or else. I don't, like, the audacity of people. I don't understand. Like, you're not a gatekeeper of other people's personal preferences of books. Like, it's beyond me. Those were the two reasons why I picked up this book right when it came out, instead of waiting 6 months to a year to get it. And I actually, like I mentioned before, gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, but it's actually 4.5, and I'll get into that why. But I gave it 5 out of 5 because the people on Goodreads are also being extremely annoying about their ratings. But see, you always see this. You see the difference between Amazon, like, good reviewers that aren't just trolling, versus Goodreads that will mark a book down even though it comes out in like 3 years, but they heard a rumor about it, so they're gonna give it 1 star and then they're gonna go on a huge rant. I don't know why Goodreads allows that. If the book comes out, then that's when you can rate it, but whatever, I digress. That's why I gave it 5 stars instead of like 4. I mean, I usually up it if it's 4.5, I give it 5. That's just me. What I liked about this book, I like the feeling and the aesthetic that you get from, one, the cover, it's fantastic, and then what you actually have in it, because it's Alex Stern is accepted to Yale because she can see ghosts, and into 9th house, and basically looks over all the other 8 houses that have their own like magical sector. I'm winging this summary. I really don't usually wing summaries because I don't know what to say. As you can see here, I'm struggling. She has had a very traumatic life before coming to Yale, and she needs to figure that out as she's figuring out a murder and a disappearance of one of her friends called Darlington. And it's a balance, and it's a balance of her past with seeing ghosts and being traumatized by that, and then drug use and doing a lot of illegal activities, and then going to Yale, and oh, stuff isn't fantastic at Yale either, and I have to figure out a lot of stuff because my friend Darlington disappeared, and he might not be dead, we don't know. Like, I also like learning about people's past because, hey, I don't have a very happy past. I don't talk about it, but I don't have the most fantastic childhood memories or stories or anything like that. So that's how I can handle books like these. I'm just kind of desensitized in a way, or no, I'm not, like, I'm just not easily triggered. Mentally or emotionally. I'm not, like, in the actual sense, I do have triggers. I'm not easily triggered. I can see how if you don't have any coping mechanisms that you could probably go into a disassociated state, or, you know, start having a panic attack. I can see that. So, I mean, that's why Leigh said mature adult book, for sure. But I appreciate those books, and I appreciate characters like Alex that has gone through a lot of stuff and is still going through stuff. But the aesthetic of Yale University is like fall and happy-go-lucky and like but serious at the same time, and it feels it's like an autumn feel while everything's going down. It's like, I'm glad I read Ninth House in October because it's a horror feel, like a crime and mystery feel as well. It's a good aesthetic for October. Definitely not for Christmas, but October for sure. Her writing actually got way better than what it was in her other young adult books. That's what I was worrying about. I did not like her writing style. What I did not like that's the same in all of her books is there's so much flashbacks, and that's why it's 4.5 out of 5. I know a lot of people don't mind flashbacks or really like flashbacks. I just can't with flashbacks, even if they're interesting. Now, it would have been like a 4 out of 5 if the flashbacks were boring, because that's what happened in like the Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. It was just, no, couldn't do it. These flashbacks at least were interesting, especially with Alex before she got to Yale. Especially when we're talking about her and the ghost that she saw as a child. And there were a couple of ones that were really hard-hitting, because I'm not going to spoil one of them, but there's like a few cases where she just sees child predators that have somehow died, but like she sees them at a park and they're just watching these kids, but they're dead, they're ghosts, and it's like, it's very eerie, especially what happens after when she's 12, and I'm not gonna spoil that, but it's really, it makes you think, and it makes you think if you were, I don't remember how old she was when she was seeing that predator that was like naked, but obviously dead. I think he like, I forgot the description of what he looked like, but I think it like he drowned or something, and like he was rotting, because obviously no one gave a crap. Of course they didn't, so they just let him rot a little bit in his house, and I don't feel bad for that. But she saw him on the playground just watching, but he's dead and no one knows, but she sees, and it's just creepy. And then you think about, that happens in real life. So what Leigh is doing is, you're seeing people that are dead and that only Alex sees, but they're there. People don't realize that they have predators living next door, unless you're looking up on the internet these types of things, and I can understand why you don't, because it's very emotional and just horrible. But there's predators out there, there's killers out there, and they're all around you, and you don't realize it unless, you know, you've seen one on you know, like it's a America's Most Wanted. I don't even know if they have that anymore, but like America's Most Wanted, and you happen to see it, and oh, you know, 2 months later you see the guy at a Walmart, like, and then you call 911. It's important to remember that everyone around you is not good. And I know that's depressing for a lot of people, but it's the truth, because that's how life is. Not everyone is good. A lot of people are bad. And it's really hard when you're young, like Alex, or like Leigh, or a lot of my friends, or like myself, when you realize that at a young age, and it's live or die. You realize that, and then you're thinking, this isn't a good person, and what do I have to do to live? What do I have to do to survive? Because I can't die. I'm not dying. And this is something that in a, what is this called? Like, well, it's a horror book, crime book, but does it count as like urban fantasy because there's ghosts? I'm not sure, but like, so she's using the fantasy feel with ghosts and demons to represent what she went through and what millions of people go through all the time. And I think that's very important for art, because I don't know about her, but I'm sure for a lot of writers, they can't deal with humans hurting humans, so they will write a fantasy world where it's like goblins and elves and humans and trolls and whatever, and then you pick like the trolls are the abusers, and then you have like the humans and the elves that are on the good side and they fight it off. That is normal, and that is a good way to let out your issues in a safe environment, and it helps for others, and of course it's just good reading. And I think that it's important to have books like these written by women, and we should not be calling them disgusting or vile or how dare you write this book in this way because this is bad representation, whatever that y'all said. Like, I wish I could call out people, but you all that like threatened or did horrible reviews, they're so obscure because they don't stick their face or their name or like their full name or anything to them, because they know that they're being a horrible person, and that's why they just feel the need to tweet that crap out and then put it on Goodreads, because you don't even know their real name, let alone what they look like. I wish I could remember. I would call you out, but as I said, you're obscure, I just don't remember. But if you allow men like Stephen King or any of like the horror filmmakers that are men that do whatever basically they want, and there's like little to no cry about it. But when Leigh Bardugo, a woman, writes I'm gonna say a very tame horror crime mystery adult book, it's a huge problem. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna have a problem with that. And when you tell me don't read this book or else, I'm gonna read it. And that's what I did. And I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Technically 4.5 out of 5 because of all the flashbacks. I would definitely suggest this book if you are mature about it, if you want some type of healing, if you have coping mechanisms, if you want a creepy October book, if you're into horror, you're into crime and mystery, you're into Leigh Bardugo, you're into snakes. The cover's fantastic. Whatever that is, I recommend this book, but I really do hope that you pick up the book. Not just because it's a fantastic story, but also to support Leigh, because as she said, I'm totally paraphrasing because I don't memorize quotes very well, but she basically said the standards that we set for women are vastly different from what we set for men. Men can write worse than Ninth House and nothing is said to them. Leigh writes Ninth House and she's vilified as a disgusting human being for a book and harassed on the daily for like a month, and there were like 1 or 2 anonymous people calling for the book to be pulled from shelves in certain places. No, you don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. This is art, and we will support a strong female writer that is going through some stuff, and that's okay, because that's what creativity is all about. You're going through some stuff, you put it in a book, you put it on a canvas, you put it in your diary, you sew a fantastic blanket, whatever you want to do. That is your right as a creator. If you're not directly hurting anyone on purpose, that is your right to create something called Ninth House. And I applaud her bravery and her class, because if I was her, I would not be as nice. Quite frankly, I would not have been as nice as, or as elegant and graceful as she was, but yeah. She seems like a better person than I am. Thank you so much for watching my review on Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. If you like what you just saw, please comment, like, or subscribe. And if you didn't like what you just saw, well, I don't really care. It's okay, because this book was fantastic. On this channel, we support some strong female writers. If you want to get to know me or any of my writing, all that information is in the description box below. Thank you so much. Have a great reading day. Bye.